What's going on, everybody? Wood Talk Sports back again with another mock draft. Mock draft 10.0. We finally made it to the double digits. And in honor of it being 10.0, if you haven't seen already by the title and the thumbnail, it is going to be a 2 round mock draft. We're going to be doing 64 picks in this one instead of 32 for 10.0, and then 11.0 right before the draft. We'll go back to 11. But without further ado, there's not much more to say other than if you enjoy my content, you see yourself coming back, make sure to like this video, of course, and then subscribe. Subscribing is free and it helps me out a lot, and I appreciate it. So, without further ado, let's just, no BS, let's hop right into it, and we'll start this draft. And going with number one overall, still not changing, it's Caleb Williams. Pretty much a lock. It is a lock in my opinion. So Caleb Williams will be number one. And number two to the Commanders. I think it will be a quarterback, and it will be Jayden Daniels. It's sticking Jayden Daniels. He fits better in that system. That's why I think he will be pick number two. So now for number three for the Patriots. Let's experiment. Let's experiment here. Who's a team that needs to trade up to the Vikings or the Broncos? I think the Broncos are going to be more aggressive, and what it will cost them is a first, a third, and a first next year. It says they're not interested, but we're going to force it because it's going for this mock draft. Broncos trade up to 3, and they don't trade up to 3 for Drake May. They trade up to 3 for J.J. McCarthy. Now, I've got the Broncos trading up. As I said, I think they're going to be more aggressive. They're going to want to jump the gun faster than most of these teams will, than other teams will be willing to do, like the Raiders if they want a quarterback, the Vikings if they want a quarterback, if the Saints want a quarterback, if the Steelers want a quarterback. They don't need a quarterback, but the Broncos, I feel like, will be the most aggressive. So, they love J.J. McCarthy. It's came out. They already said that they love J.J., and I think that's something that people need to really pinpoint on and look at, is the fact that J.J. McCarthy is starting to get mocked in the top 3 before Drake May, which I don't fully understand. But I think if a team like Denver trades up and tries to get a quarterback in the first 3, it's going to be J.J. McCarthy, unless obviously Jayden Daniels or Caleb Williams is there. I just think the first 2 picks are going to be locks, and if it really depends who's picking at number 3, if it's the Patriots or they trade back. And the thing is the Patriots haven't confirmed that they're sticking at 3. That's not a guarantee. So I that's why I have in this one. We haven't done this before. Patriots trading back has not happened before. That's why I have them doing it, and I have the Broncos going up because I think the Broncos are going to be willing to go up to 3, and the Vikings aren't going to want to give up more than just their 2 first rounders this year. So, and I think that's what it will cost them for pick number 3. So, we're going to have the Broncos trading up to number 3 and taking J.J. McCarthy. Now, the reason why I have Patriots trading back in this one is because this is my 2-round mock, and in this 2-round mock, I have a decision to make in the second round for New England that you guys will see soon. That makes a lot more sense. So, McCarthy 3 to the Broncos. Now, number 4, it's a given. Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals. He's the best player in the draft. So, I don't think there's really a question about it. Kyler needs himself a solidified number 1 guy, so I think this is a perfect fit for him. So I don't really have to talk about it that much. Now, the Chargers will be trading back with the Minnesota Vikings for these first-round picks, maybe a little bit more in there as well. However, doesn't involve any second-rounders, so I won't be doing it. Vikings trade up, and they get their guy who I think, honestly, they might like more than McCarthy, so they'd be fine with getting him, and that is Drake May. So I think Drake May would be a great fit in Minnesota. My big thing has been with Minnesota this entire mock draft process has been that they really do need a guy who it needs to be in a good spot. They're a team that can take the chance on a guy that had a lot of good weapons in college, like Penix, who is a good quarterback, but people will say, oh, he had good players, or Daniels, who same thing. Drake May is another guy that you put him in a situation with great weapons. You saw what he did with North Carolina. You put him in a situation with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and he'll he'll produce. He'll produce great numbers. So May at 5 to the Vikings. Now at number 6, it's going to be Malik Neighbors still. Once again, wide receiver 1 for the Giants is the necessity. They still might go quarterback if there's one available. I don't think these 4, out of anybody else except these 4, someone will go in the top 10. So Malik Neighbors at 6, and that leads Joe Alt to the Titans again. Keeping Will Levis safe is really your only priority, and that is what they do with pick number 7. So now pick number 8. Here's where it gets interesting. Dallas Turner, Jared Verse, one of the two. Dallas Turner's higher on boards. People think that Verse is the safer choice. I think Dallas Turner is still my guy. Now, the reason why I would still pick him is I really like his upside, his athletic upside. He's an absolute monster athlete. Verse is a very good player, produces fantastic, but I just think Dallas Turner is the right pick at 8. So I'm going to go Turner to the Falcons for the 9th time, I think it is, in these mock drafts. Now at number 9 to the Bears, it's going to stay the same. Rome Odunze teaming up with Caleb Williams. And that's just going to be a great duo alongside Keenan Allen and Mr. DJ Moore. And that team's offense is going to be very high-powered. You could see them go O-line, honestly, or go defensive line. But I think with Rome Odunze there, I think he's just the best pick there. Because he's a guy who could honestly go top 6. But I think he's a great pick. Now at number 10, to the Jets, I have them. It's just I debate so much with myself with tackle, wide receiver, Brock Bowers. And in this case scenario, I'm going to go with Brock Bowers. I just think he's that good of a guy, like a player, that good of a tight end, and he's just a big necessity on some teams that need a tight end. He'd be a big get, and the Jets are one of them. So he's a pretty decent blocker, great route runner, great catcher. I mean, he's one of the rarest tight end breeds and builds you'll ever see. So I'm gonna have to go Brock Bowers at 10. Now at number 11, to the Chargers, I'm going to stick with Quinyon Mitchell. I still think he's going to be the highest. Either him or Terrion Arnold will be the first corner off the board. And in this case, it's going to be Quinyon Mitchell, who I think is going to be a stud. And he's a good physical, fast corner. So fits a lot of boxes for every team that needs a corner. So now at 12 for the Patriots. Now you don't have quarterback available right now. I think you could maybe trade back again and wait and get Adonai Mitchell or Brian Thomas Jr. I think here is where you go for protection, and you go and get yourself Olufashinu. And he is a great offensive tackle. I mean, they lost Trent Brown, wasn't it? You get yourself a young stud who can play both tackle positions, is athletic enough to do that, and get yourself a quarterback later and get really high value in this draft with Fashanu in the first round. I think that's how you say it. I've been saying Fashanu. I think it's Fashanu. And then you get a quarterback later to protect who has a top-tier talent at tackle off the gate. So, and in the long run, I think that's a better trade and draft in this 2-round mock draft. So now at number 13 to the Raiders, they need a lot of things. They could go tackle. I went J.C. Latham last mock. This time I'm going to go back to defense. I just think that with the top-tier talent of defensive players in this mock draft right now available, I think it's hard to just pass up on a guy here at number 13, and that's Terrion Arnold. I think he's a fantastic corner. I mean, you've heard it from me all draft process. He's a playmaker at the corner position, and that'd be perfect for Antonio Pierce. So Putting him in Las Vegas would be a very good situation. So I'm going to make that happen at number 13. Now at 14 to the Saints, we're going to have. There's two ways we could go here because the O line and D line are their two problems. And obviously Byron Murphy, Johnny Newton, Jared Verse is here. But then you also got Talise Fuaga, Troy Fautanu. There's also Leatu Latu. You also got J.C. Latham here. And at this pick, I just think the safest bet and the best choice for the Saints team is Talise Fuaga. It's Talise Fuaga because he is, I think, the best well-crafted tackle out of all those tackles, the best pro-ready built guy for tackle and athletic enough to play both tackle positions. And that is the biggest problem for the Saints. I still think they need to go tackle because then they can move Penning to the guard and try him out at like left guard where Andrus Peat, who's old, is. And then you also have Hurst at your starting left tackle right now, which is not my starting left tackle in my opinion. And then Ryan Ramczyk, he's pretty much, we don't know if he's ever going to play again. So you get yourself a tackle and a good one in Talise Fuaga, and that is a big thing. Now, 15 to the Colts, corner wide receiver, could trade back, get a wide receiver later. I think Cooper DeJean goes 15th. He jumps up my boards from 22 to 15 and goes to the Colts. That might be because Arnold and Mitchell are off the board, but I think defensive back is really their big thing. DB or edge, really. You could see them go Jared Verse. I think defensive back is their biggest concern, though, and they can get a guy later in, like, the second round if there's a good edge available. Or they could go and get, like, like a wide receiver like Keon Coleman if he's available at their 46th, I think it is. So now 16 to the Seahawks. It's either Verse or Fautanu. I'm going to stick with Fautanu. Troy Fautanu, I think, is really just like that perfect fit for Seattle. I think he's the perfect prospect for Seattle this year. As much as I think Verse would probably be the better prospect in this case, I just think that Fautanu is literally the perfect fit for Seattle when it comes to skill, positional need, versatility, just all that. And I mean, he's not moving too far. So Fautanu, 16 to the Seahawks. Now it's 17. I think this is a pretty good draft pick. Very good value. Jared Verse drops to 17 to pair him up with Josh Allen, who they just were able to keep in Jacksonville. So Jared Verse and Josh Allen on both sides is dangerous. Could go Johnny Newton or Byron Murphy to fix that interior D-line. But I think if Jared Verse is there at 17, you can't pass on him. So he will be a Jacksonville Jaguar. Number 18 to the Bengals. I've been going tackle a lot. Tight end tackle a lot. And there's a big gap. Defensive line. DJ Reader, believe he is gone. And I think there's a person here that is perfect to fill that gap, and that is Byron Murphy to Cincinnati. I think he is fantastic. His pass rush win rate, fantastic. He'll be a good defensive lineman for the future, and he is my pick number 18 to Cincinnati, my first time going defense for their team. So now 19 to the Rams. Two things. Johnny Newton, Leatu Latu. Man. And they've got Kobe Turner. They've got Byron Young. So it's really depending on what they want to run as a front. This time around, I'm going to go Latu. I think that putting him on the other side of Byron Young, Young, and Kobe Turner is going to be very deadly. It'll be very, very good, and that is something that would be cool to see. Now at number 20 to the Steelers, we have many different routes we could go. We could go with the tackles, Latham, Mims, and Barton, And it's really between Latham and Mims for me. And it really comes down to who I think the better prospect is. And I really do think that Latham's the better prospect. So with 20th pick the 20th pick, the Steelers select J.C. Latham, and I think that's going to be good for them. Put him at right tackle because I don't think he can play left tackle. He's too big to play left tackle and move like a left tackle needs to. So he'll be a good right tackle for Pittsburgh, protecting Russell Wilson. This time around, they don't get Brandon Ayuk. They actually get to pick in the first round. So, pick 21 to the Dolphins. I'm going to go Johnny Newton. I could very well go Amarius Mims or Graham Barton because that offensive line does need improvement. But I think that getting a guy to fill up the gap that Christian Wilkins is going to leave is going to be big for Miami. So, having Johnny Newton at 21 is great value for him. And so why are you going to pass up on that? So I'm going to have Johnny Newton go 21st to the Dolphins. So now 22 to the Eagles. We could go, I think there's many different routes you can go in this situation, but I'm not going to really think about it too much. They need corner, so I'm going to go, did not mean to press on that. They're going to go Nate Wiggins, who is an absolute speedster. He's a stud. I love watching him at Clemson. Not very many passes allowed last year. I mean, I think it was like 18 receptions or something like that on 41 targets. Like 41 targets in a season is fantastic for a lockdown corner, and that's something that the Eagles could really use because both their corners are aging, and their secondary is definitely a big concern for a lot of people. A lot of people look at that secondary and say, it's not that great. So, but now at 23 to the Chargers. Now, I've been thinking Mitchell's higher on this big board. I still think Brian Thomas Jr. gets drafted beforehand. People are starting to put him down in their list a little bit. I am not one of them. I love Brian Thomas Jr. as a wide receiver prospect. I think he'd be great in Los Angeles. He'd be great with Herbert. So would Adonai Mitchell, but I think that Brian Thomas Jr. really is a good fit. I think, what are you on, a 4.38? Just a slightly slower than Mitchell. Both prospects are fantastic wide receivers, and I think, honestly, 23, 28 are interchangeable between Mitchell and Brian Thomas Jr., as 28 is the Bills' pick, so we'll get there in a second. But 24 to the Cowboys. Now, there's multiple routes I think I could go with this one, too. You could go JPJ, center from Oregon, or you could go Amarius Mims from Georgia, or he's a little low on this list. You could go Tyler Guyton. And when I look at the Dallas Cowboys, I lean Mims. And the reason I lean Mims is because they lost a big offensive lineman, just like they lost a big offensive lineman this season to the Jets, and that is Tyron Smith, who Mims probably won't play left tackle, but you could put Tyler Smith at left tackle. You could move the offensive line around. Yes, they do need center, but I think tackle's also a concern in the absolute behemoth of a man, and Amarius Mims fills that responsibility. So he will be going 24 to the Dallas Cowboys. Now at 25 to the Green Bay Packers. We have many routes we can go. They need safety. They could go corner. They could get Kool-Aid McKinstry at 25. They could go O-line. They can go defensive interior, which I don't think there's anybody to really draft in the first round anymore with that. Now, with that being said, I think Graham Barton is the best of pick for them at 25. I think since he can play tackle, he can play interior, he is going to be a very versatile guy for Green Bay, and the necessity is to protect Jordan Love, and he will do that. So now 26 to the Buccaneers, we've got Jackson Powers-Johnson. He falls to 26, and the Buccaneers get their guy at center. Big thing for them since they've got Baker now re-signed. They've got Mike Evans re-signed, and he will be a big piece to hopefully trying to win the division again for Tampa Bay. And that division, I'm actually surprised to watch because Atlanta, 8th pick this year. They're probably going to pick defense. They've got a pretty dang good offense now that they got Kirk. The defending champs, the Buccaneers, losing a couple of pieces, but they kept their crucial pieces. The Saints, the Saints just are in that spot where they feel like they're always contending for the division, but they're not like a Super Bowl contender. And then the Panthers are the Panthers, so we don't really talk about them. But anyways, Jackson Powers Johnson, 26. Now, 27 to the Cardinals. What I could go many routes actually. What I would think I would go with is maybe the corner, maybe go Kool-Aid. Some people think maybe they go a second wide receiver, which I don't understand, but what it really comes down to is what is their bigger need and what is on the board still. And with that being said, I think really what they need and what's on the board, the best player available for them is Kool-Aid McKinstry. Um, really start working on that defense. You could maybe go Chop Robinson, get an edge rusher. But I think McKinstry at 27 is good value for Arizona as a team. So that is going to be pick number 27. Now at 28, not going to even think about it. Adonai Mitchell, wide receiver, is a must-need in Buffalo without Diggs. And Khalil Shakir is your wide receiver one. They got a lot of things they need to fix during the draft. And Adonai Mitchell is going to be the start of a lot of steps towards coming back to being the team they are. Because they're definitely retooling. I wouldn't say they're rebuilding completely. They kind of are. But they are trying to retool as much as they can and stay in contention with Josh Allen. So 29 now to the Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions, they could go multiple ways now. I think TJ Tampa could be a Lions pick. I think Ennis Rakestraw could be a Lions pick. But I also think edge rusher is a Lions pick. And I think first round edge rusher, there's one guy still available. It's Chop Robinson. He is going to be drafted to Detroit. Him, either there or Baltimore, I think is the right fit for him. And, put him on the other side of Aiden Hutchinson. That is a dangerous duo. So I think Chop goes to Detroit. Now at 30 to the Ravens, we're going to have Tyler Guyton. You really just need the offensive line protection. I don't think it's worth getting TJ Tampa. If it doesn't fit, or Rakestraw. I don't think they fit in that scheme, really, compared to how the need of protecting Lamar is. He's your two-time MVP, defending MVP, lost in the AFC Championship game. You need to keep him safe. You need to solidify your run game now that they've been so good at, now that especially since you have Mr. Derrick Henry. So he goes 30th. Now at 31 to the 49ers, we're going to have TJ Tampa. He is, in my opinion, the prototypical 49er corner. He fits in San Francisco so well, and I feel like even though people will probably expect him to be a second-round pick, I think that the Niners would be a team to go ahead and jump the board to get him because, as I said, he fits the Niner way, and he's just what the Niners look at for a corner. And so that'll be their 31st selection. Now, when we look at the last pick in the first round, this team needs a tackle, and this team needs tackle bad. So with that being said, I think they go Jordan Morgan. I think that's really what they need for to protect Mahomes is really their biggest thing. And their tackles were awful this year. I mean, they were bad. So that, I think, is just where this goes. And that ends the first round. Starting with the second round now, though. The Panthers get to pick finally after being the worst team in the NFL. And I think they don't waste any time. They go Ladd McConkey with the first pick in the second round. Ladd McConkey is a good wide receiver prospect, good at route running, can get his separation. He'd be good for a guy like Bryce Young because I think Ladd McConkey fits what Young could need for his development. He's more of that Adam Thielen-ish type player, I'd say, maybe. And he's younger. So, Ladd McConkey, 33, to the Panthers. Now, in the second round for the Patriots, we went offensive line at number 12. Remember, we traded back with offensive line number 12. The reason we did that is so we could draft Michael Penix Jr. out of Washington, who comes into the second round. You could go him or Bo Nix. I think Penix is still the better quarterback prospect. And yes, the two injury concerns are a thing. But the way he performed at his pro day was fantastic. I mean, how fast he ran with two ACL injuries in his history. I just think he's a fantastic QB. He's the most accurate QB in the draft, and that's a great find for the Patriots to go ahead and trade back, get Fashanu, get yourself a third round pick as well, get a first rounder next year, and then get Michael Penix Jr. still alongside Fashanu. So now at 35 to the Cardinals, I think the position they need is offensive line, and Zach Frazier's available. So they go and get Zach Frazier to be their center. They need their O-line to improve. I mean, as I said, Kyler Murray, you build around him still. You just got Marv. You got a guy for your defense. You need to protect Kyler now. And that's what you do at number 27. You get Zach Frazier to protect Kyler Murray and basically be a big piece to keeping his knees safe. So now at 36 to the Commanders, you could go corner. You could see them go Rakestraw. I think they go safety because I believe Cam Curl's no longer on the team. So I'm going to go Tyler Nubin, who is a great safety prospect. I think he fits in well. And he's a guy that will be making plays for them immediately because they need a guy to come in and make plays immediately at the safety position because this team needs help everywhere, honestly. The Commanders are just not that good at all. You get yourself Jaden Daniels. You get Tyler Nubin. Hopefully with the next pick, you can go and get yourself some offensive line help, which we will see when we get to pick 40. But Tyler Nubin at 36 to help kind of rebuild this defense after losing so many key pieces. So now 37 of the Chargers, you got yourself a corner, a wide receiver, and now you're going to get yourself a defensive lineman. You're going to get Braden Fisk from Florida State, who had a fantastic combine back in March. Yeah, I can't even remember when the combine was, man. It's been so long. We've been doing these for so much time. So, but Braden Fisk looks great. You put him in to Los Angeles, and you really have a playmaker right off the bat. You have Khalil Mack, you got Joey Bosa, and now you've got a guy in the interior to cause some damage. So Braden Fisk, 37 to the Chargers. Now 38 to the Titans. This team just went O-line. You could go wide receiver second round, get Troy Franklin maybe. I think you let Treylon Burks. You let him try another year. There's a lot of good wide receivers in this draft class too. You get a guy third, fourth round. So in this situation, you go corner. You get Ennis Rakestraw out of Missouri. He is going to be such a vital piece to building a defense alongside L'Jarius Sneed, Sean Murphy-Bunting. Get yourself a young corner as well. That is a dangerous cornerback just group. And that's why I have them going Rakestraw at 38, is to really build that dangerous group and at the corner position. Now at 39 to the Panthers, I have them taking a play out of the Packers playbook and doubling up on wide receivers. You know, last year they went with Jaden Reed and they also did the Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, like those guys. They double up on wide receivers, and I'm going to go down the board a little bit. They're going to go get Xavier Legette. Xavier Legette, I think is actually how you say it. He's a great wide receiver. He's built. He's fast. I think he works well. You know, he's got a great country accent. He'll be a guy that can really make plays for Bryce Young. And yes, you do still kind of need to get some help on the offensive line, but I think you can target that later. I think there's a guy, like especially interior, maybe you could get a guy like Zach Zinter later in the day 3, who I think is pretty good. But doubling up on wide receivers, which isn't seen much, especially because it's that quickly. That's what, 2 wide receivers and 7 picks. I just think that's what you need. Your team is awful at wide receiver. Your wide receiver 2 is DJ Chark. Like, you double up. Adam Thielen, Ladd McConkey, Xavier Legette. That is a good wide receiver group. A good to really learn from the veterans on the team. So Now at number 40 to the Commanders, we are now going to be going to offensive line, as I said. And the offensive lineman I'm going to go with is Christian Haynes from UConn. They need interior help, I would say. You also have Sam Cosmi at right guard, so then you could put Christian Haynes at left guard and really have him learn from Sam Cosmi and become a better player because he's playing with Sam Cosmi, who's one of the better guards in the NFL. So I think he fits well in Washington. Now at 41 to the Packers. Packers, we went O-line round one with Graham Barton. You could go interior D-line, but I'm actually going to go Javon Bullard, the safety from Georgia. Pair him up with Xavier McKinney, and you've got yourself a pretty good duo in your back of the secondary. You could also see them go corner like Mike Sainristil, or maybe what's his name, Kamari Lassiter. Now I think safety is the better bet. Go get yourself another safety alongside of Xavier McKinney and make that team that much better. So now at 42, the Texans' first pick, and they get a good one. They're going to get Peyton Wilson out of NC State to play at linebacker for them. He's an athletic freak of a linebacker, of an off-ball linebacker, and really just have him develop into a lead the defense type of player, because that's the type of player that he can be. And I mean, at pick 42, I think that's a really good value. I could see him going to Washington or Carolina or Tennessee. Really, I could. But I think if they get him at 42, that's great value, because some people think he might sneak into the first. So the Texans get a really good player at pick 42. And now at pick 43 to the Falcons, you're going to get Sainristil. He is a good slot type corner. You pair him with AJ Terrell. Put him on the outside. Sainristil can follow the slot guy, and you've already now tried to attack your two biggest weaknesses, which is D-line and corner, with your first two picks, which is you're already starting off with a great draft, I would say, if you go Sainristil in the second. So now at pick 44 to the Raiders. Quarterback's a big need, so I think you go ahead and you draft the sixth quarterback off the board, Bo Nix from Oregon to the Raiders. Now, I like Bo Nix a lot, and I think this is a great pick for Las Vegas because they need a quarterback. Aiden O'Connell, as much as I loved watching him last year, he's not going to cut it. And with their defense improving, you went corner in the first round. You get Bo Nix now, and now you can focus simply on those other positions, like maybe getting Bucky Irvin, getting Bo Nix's guy, Bucky Irvin, in the third round, getting some O-line in the late day 2, early day 3 picks, just really improving your team that much throughout the later picks, because now you have your quarterback who you think could be your franchise guy, and then also your corner that could be a staple for your defense. Bo Nix is a great addition to the squad. Now, 45 for the Saints. You got yourself your tackle. Tackle is still a little bit of a question mark, but I think D-line becomes your biggest concern, and that's when you go and look at the D-line, and that's where I think Darius Robinson gets drafted. Darius Robinson goes 45th to the Saints, and they get themselves a good edge rusher. They had hardly any sacks. Their leader in sacks was Carl Granderson, who still on the team, but Cam Jordan as well on the team, getting older. You can really start playing Robinson, who's he's a pretty big edge rusher. I'm pretty sure he's about 290 something. And you get a physical guy to come off the edge, especially when Cam Jordan retires. You have a guy like Darius Robinson there. You just drafted Isaiah Foskey, and he really hasn't gotten that much of a chance. I think Darius Robinson's a better player, so you draft him when he's there, and it's great value for him because he's another guy that people think could possibly land in the first round. But they're going to go at 45 to the Saints. Now, 46 to the Colts. They need wide receiver. They need DB. We went DB first time with DeJean. Could go edge rusher, get Chris Braswell. I'm going to go Troy Franklin, dropping to 46. I think Franklin, originally I had him being the number 1 pick in the second round, but then I had a change of heart. I think McConkey should be the first wide receiver in the second round. And, I mean, he's just great. He's a great dynamic, just a threat at wide receiver. I mean, him and Bo Nix were fantastic together at Oregon. And putting him in Indianapolis with a young and upcoming quarterback in Anthony Richardson will be a big thing for him. So now at pick number 47, I've been thinking about trading, but the Giants just need help. They need help at the offensive tackle position. So we're going to go with Kingsley Suamataia. I believe that's how I say it. Suamataia. Kingsley Suamataia is a good tackle. Another guy that, I mean, I've said it for a lot of people. Another guy that could possibly sneak in his way into the first round if maybe the Chiefs don't like Jordan Morgan as much as they like Kingsley. So he's the guy that you just got your wide receiver 1 in Malik Neighbors at pick 6. Now you can go focus on that O-line to keep Daniel Jones safe, and you're getting a first-round talent middle of the second round. So I think it's a very, very good pick for him. But now at pick number 48 for the Jags, I don't think there's any other route you can go other than corner, and Kamari Lassiter's on the board. Now, maybe if you don't go Jared Verse first round, you go corner first round, you go Chris Braswell in the second, but there's no point. So I'm going to have them go Kamari Lassiter to really beef up that corner position because they need it. So, and I think he's a pretty decent corner. Maybe not the greatest pro day, but he will be someone that can do his best and develop to try and make his biggest impact as quick as he can. So now for the Bengals at pick number 49, tackle is still a concern. You know, you've got Amagaji. That's definitely not how you say it, but I completely blanked how to say his name. I learned it a couple days ago. But Jatavion Sanders is there, and he's a very good tight end. And that's a position you really need. So why really wait? You know, you could get Cade Stover later, maybe Theo Johnson, Jaheim Bell. But I think that Jatavion Sanders at 49, when he's that good of a tight end prospect, obviously not on the same level as Bowers, but nobody is on the same level as Bowers. So you go Jatavion Sanders at 49 to fulfill that tight end position. So now you've fulfilled your interior D-line that you really, with Byron, you've helped your spot with Jatavion. Now you can really focus on that O-line and other pieces that you think could possibly use some improvement. So now at number 50 to the Eagles, there is multiple routes we could go. I think the 2 routes we go is defensive back and linebacker. And in this case, we're going to go linebacker. I'm going to go Edgerrin Cooper. And the reason I'm going to go Edgerrin Cooper is I think people like him a lot as a prospect. I think that the athletic upside is there for Edgerrin Cooper, and that is something that the Eagles would love to see, is have a guy who can do that. Lucky that they got this pick from New Orleans, and they picked in 3 more picks. They get their guy in Edgerrin Cooper, who maybe the Rams want at 52. So that's why you maybe take Edgerrin Cooper, make them have to go to their next choice, and then you can get whoever the other person you want at 53, because both of these teams probably won't target that position as much. Now to the Steelers at 51. 2 ways. Keon Coleman, Roman Wilson, Ricky Pearsall. I'm going to go Ricky Pearsall. I can never get over that catch that he made. That was fantastic. He's a good wide receiver. I think he fits well in Pittsburgh with George Pickens. Him and Pickens with Wilson throwing him the ball. He knows where to find the gaps in defenses. And, I mean, he knows where to sit in the right spots. And that's something that the Steelers could really use, is having a guy like that. You have your aggressive ball getter in George Pickens, who you really can just throw it up to. But then you also get Pearsall, one of the two, who really can just make plays. So now you've got wide receiver 1 and 2 in Pittsburgh. Now 52 with the Rams, I'm actually going to have them trade back, and I'm going to have the Chiefs trading from 52 to 64, maybe getting like a compensatory pick and later in day 3. And the Chiefs trade up, and the reason they trade up is because they really like a guy who's still on the board, and his name is Chris Braswell from Bama. I do really think he could be an early second rounder. Maybe the Panthers get an edge rusher. They're like, hey, we just lost Brian Burns. Braswell makes more sense. I know I doubled up on the wide receivers, which doesn't make too much sense, but I did, so Braswell in the second round. Or they could go wide receiver. They could trade up, get Roman Wilson, Keon Coleman. I think Braswell is really good to put on the other side of George Karlaftis. And I really think that at 52, he's a good value, and the Rams trading back, I think, really benefits them anyways. So, Braswell 52 to the Chiefs, and the Chiefs are done in the second round. So, now it is 53. The Eagles are back on the clock. They need wide receiver. They also need DB. I look at their team, and I go, let's go wide receiver. And then I look at who they have as wide receivers. They have Devontae Smith. They have A.J. Brown. That A.J. Brown makes me not want to pick Keon Coleman because I don't think Keon Coleman is the guy that is. I think Keon Coleman's a very aggressive player, just like A.J. Brown. I don't think they need two of those. They would probably rather have two Devontae Smith types. So that's why they're going to go Roman Wilson at pick number 53 to the Eagles. And you get yourself your wide receiver 3. They could go DB. They could maybe go get Jaden Hicks, the safety out of Washington State. Maybe go get, what's his name? He's the Kyrie Jackson out of Oregon for corner. But you just went corner first round. You went linebacker. You're going to go wide receiver now, too, because those are your 3 biggest needs, in my opinion. Also, PFF agrees. You get yourself your 3rd wide receiver, so it's not Quez Watkins, who really hasn't done anything. Roman Wilson is going to be a great player for him. So now at pick 54 to the Browns, their first pick in the draft. I'm not going to hesitate. They need an interior D-line. Chris Jenkins available. They go with Chris Jenkins, and they get themselves their guy in the interior at pick 54. Now at pick 55 to the Dolphins, there's one guy on the board still that literally fits the Dolphins stereotype for wide receivers, and that is Mr. Xavier Worthy. 4.21 himself, dropping into the second round. I think he goes perfectly in Miami alongside Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert, Devon Achane. That team is absolutely deadly and absolutely speedy. Nobody's catching up with that team. As long as Tua can really get the ball to them, that's all that matters. And Xavier Worthy's a great pick for him at 55, and they get another speedster to their squad. At pick 56 now to the Cowboys, they got to go running back, in my opinion. They need a running back. And my 2 favorite running backs are Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks. Brooks, obviously, the injury happened to him. Benson, he's pretty good, but I really just still do like Jonathan Brooks. I think they keep him in Texas, and he is a stud. So, before he got hurt, he looked great. He looks fantastic. Unfortunately, my TCU Horned Frogs had to hurt him, but I hate Texas, but he was one of the players I used to love watching last season. Didn't really get that much recognition. Now at 57 to the Buccaneers, they could really use a lot. They got themselves JPJ, filled up that center position. People think maybe wide receiver. I don't think they go wide receiver. Running back says it's a need. I think Rachaad White as running back is fine. And I'm going to go Adisa Isaac, edge rusher out of Penn State. They need some guy off the edge, and as much as I used to always love putting Laiatu Latu at the edge rusher position for them in the first round, you go offense, now you go defense. They could maybe go with Junior Colson from Michigan as a linebacker for their team. But I just think Adisa Isaac is the best pick for them here, and he's a very high-valued player. So now at 58 to the Packers, we went safety at the first one. We went O-line. I'm going to go Rook Ororo. That's how you say it. Ororo? Oro. Something like that. Ororo. I don't know. But his last name's a tongue twister. He's a good run stuffing guy for them. I think he'll fit well for them, and he's a guy that they kind of need that position. You have Kenny Clark, but that's about it. And you get yourself some depth at the defensive line spot with Rook Aurora, and it's a spot that you need. So that's the 58th pick. Now at 59, I still don't know why it says the Texans need wide receiver. They have Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and Stephon Diggs. I think they're fine. At this number 59 pick, they go and get themselves corner, and they're going to go and get Kyrie Jackson from Oregon, who I think is dynamic. Obviously, not the best Oregon corner we've seen in a bit, as Christian Gonzalez last year was my favorite corner and the second favorite corner beside Devon Witherspoon, which I will never understand how he dropped to 17. But I think Kyrie Jackson, you get yourself another corner alongside Stingley. That is something that is great for them. And this team is really building something special. They get Peyton Turner and Kyrie Jackson in the second round. That's two really good picks. You get a first-round talent in Peyton Turner and then a really good player in Kyrie Jackson. And now we are on to pick 60 with the Bills. Now, the Bills need to go a lot of different ways. And in this time, I'm going Jaden Hicks. You just released both of your safeties. You have absolutely nobody at safety. DeMar Hamlin is a starting safety for them right now who love his story, but he is not a good football player right as of now. I mean, he caused their team more of a detriment than a benefit last season. So you get Jaden Hicks, who's a good Washington State safety. He's a big safety, plays very comfortably in the linebacker area, the linebacker position, basically down in the off-ball spot, which can lead to some concerns because maybe he's not the fastest, but I think he's a great spot at 60 for the Bills. So now 61 to the Lions. I think you go interior O-line. You might be jumping the gun, but you really need a guard, and it's Cooper Beebe. Cooper Beebe, who it says he's projected to be like a fourth-round pick, could really be seen to go in the second round, I think. I think hype's really starting to pick up for him. A lot of teams need offensive line, interior offensive line, and he fits that category for the Lions. The other thing I could see them going is maybe getting Keon Coleman to go alongside Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams and really get their tall contested catch ball getter. But I think Cooper Beebe is a good fit for them. Yes, it might be a little bit of a reach, but I think teams are going to be willing to do that for some prospects. So, plus it happens all the time in every draft. So you got to be able to add them to your mocks. So now at 62, we're going to go Keon Coleman. He finally comes off the board and goes to a good team in Baltimore. Baltimore is another team who needs their jump ball guy. They have Zay Flowers. Now they get Keon Coleman with Lamar Jackson. The run offense is absolutely dangerous. They get their protection in Tyler Guyton at pick 30, and then they go and get a guy like Keon Coleman. Like, that is a perfect draft so far. You get wide receiver, you get tackle, and now you got to focus on defense for the rest of the draft, really. But Keon Coleman's 62. Now at 63 to the 49ers, really only one thing is O-line, and it's that tackle position. So we're going to get Kieran Amagaji. I forgot how to say it, man. It makes me upset because I just learned it. I learned it so I could say it in this video, but we'll call him Kieran. Kieran's he was a good tackle at Yale. He is big enough to play either side. Trent Williams getting older. Right tackle is a concern for them. So I think Kieran is a good fit for the Niners and a team that really needs to have a good offensive line. They made the Super Bowl with probably their worst O-line in the past couple of years. They've been known for good O-lines, not last season. And they get a guy who can probably go be integrated into the offensive line immediately. So, and that is the Niners' last pick of the second round. Now, finally, with the last pick in the second round, and the last pick in this mock draft is going to be for the Rams, who traded back from 52 to 64 with the Chiefs, and they need a linebacker. They could wait for Tommy Eichenberg. I think Junior Colson is a great prospect. He could go early third, late second, and the Rams get him in the late second with the last pick in the 2024 second round. And that wraps up our mock draft today. This one, 2 rounds of fun, 64 picks. hope you guys enjoyed this one. I liked doing the 2 rounder. Let me know what you guys think. First round, second round. If your team got who you wanted, if you got who they wanted, multiple pick wise. What trades you think will happen? If you think my trades will happen at all. Just basically the whole spiel. And obviously, remember, if you enjoyed this, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, as subscribing is free and it helps me out. And we'll probably have one more draft profile before the draft, one more mock draft before the draft, and then obviously Mariners franchise will start kicking in the gear. We will also be doing a MLB early season prediction, so that'll be coming. Be careful, be ready for that. That'll be coming after the draft. So that's gonna be it for me today, and I hope y'all enjoyed. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.